One of the most iconic boss types and final boss types that first debuted in Medarot 2 and has made his place in every Medarot roster since. It is WEA01 God Emperor, with a kit of Break, Hyper Missile, Laser, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Auto Charge, which passively fills Metaforce gauge every turn. Now, unlike Beastmaster, who has the high damage potential, but does not have the Metaforce sustain and is rather Metaforce reliant, God Emperor very clearly learned from that with the upgrade, with the leg ability of Auto Charge, and two of his three moves, much like Beastmaster, being Metaforce reliant. So even as you're using regular moves, so whether that be Laser, Break, or Hyper Missile, you're still going to be progressively getting that Metaforce sustain every turn, progressively making his head and his left arm stronger once he hits certain thresholds. So if you pair that off with, say, the Hunter or Sniper Nature Medal with higher Metaforce sustain, you can very quickly and very easily reach 100% Metaforce charge, and then absolutely go ham with an AoE Metaforce nuke, or just keep the charge if you want to. And even if you do choose to use Metaforce, you can replenish it very quickly and very easily. Break is the Pierce damage variant of Press, again a counterpart to Beastmaster's Press. That is a gravity attribute attack, so very good for that heavy punish of anyone using 2 or more heavy parts, but of course 3 recommended. The one thing that sets Break apart from Press is that even though Break has the lower success modifiers, as it gets the times 1.5 at 30%, it does actually get the pierce damage, which is even better for that heavy punish. Hyper Missile is essentially an upgraded version of the standard missile, which is a gunpowder-based attack. Hyper Missile 2 is a gunpowder-based attack, but instead of it being a 4-way AoE, it is a pierce damage-based skill. So very good for that spot nuking as well with extra punish. Definitely, if you are going to make use of a gunpowder-based skill, Hyper Missile is absolutely the best of the bunch. Laser, of course, probably will be the least I'd say aesthetically new and impressive compared to what God Emperor is packing, but it also does have his highest damage output. With it being an optic-based attack, it has the times 1.5 damage bonus at 30% charge, and times 2 bonus at 100% charge. So once you have that full charge, say with his leg ability or with the Hunter or pairing with the right metal nature, that will be his most consistent form of high damage. Whereas while he's still at low charge, you can make use of Hyper Missile until you get a couple turns and some parts broken to get that Metaforce sustain going. So as a pure set score, I would very easily rate God Emperor at a solid 8 out of 10 across the board. I'd even recommend a 9, maybe even a 10 in some cases, and I'm very finicky and I'm very careful with handing out 10s liberally. Primarily for the fact that he's very tanky, so he can tank a lot of really good hits very easily. He has a very high base damage and high base damage potential, much like his predecessor Beastmaster, but he learned from the mistakes of the predecessor and factored in passive Metaforce sustain with the leg ability of Auto Charge. And of course with that, he does also have some very good mobility at about the mid 700s or so he's in that higher sweet spot where multi-legs want to be, where they have that good mobility, and multi also has pretty good terrain coverage overall. I'd say the next best under biped. Unfortunately, one of the big glaring weaknesses that God Emperor does have, which he unfortunately did not learn from, which is basically a norm with weapon types, is that all 3 of his parts are heavy. So again, much like with Beastmaster, if his legs go out, God Emperor is officially down for the count, out of commission, and very easy to pick off and kill if he doesn't get those legs replaced or repaired very quickly. As mixed parts score, I would very easily rate him more or less the exact same rating, as his parts are very versatile on any conventional or dedicated shoot nuker build, especially if you can make use of and honor the heavy limit and keep mind of it. And the legs also are very good, not just for shoot nukers, but they can fit with any Metaforce reliant nuker, shooting or melee based, that requires a Metaforce charge that is passive, but you can't normally or very easily fit it in the build by itself or with your current setup.